need to feel safe, then you need to understand the consequences that come with that action, right? I don't go pick up Arc and hop into a PvP server on Arc and go, I can't wait to PvE my entire way through it. I know what I'm getting myself into, right? It's the same thing when you pick up Star Citizen, right? And while I respect the people who want to just play the game for themselves, Agent said it best when he was doing a react to somebody's post Spectrum post about it, where they all they want to do is PVE and they only want to focus on the PVE stuff. Well, you're but complain about not having a lot of the game being open and available to them. That's on them for choosing to only want to participate in 50% of the game, right? But when it comes to pirates make up a very small amount of the community, but we are healthy to that ecosystem and the economy, right?
There's tons of there's tons of people that right now, because of how often the few locations that you can buy RMC are, they know they're going to have a chance of being pirated. You'll see multiple times in global chat, I've seen it a lot here recently, people asking to pay people to fly a fighter or whatever and try to be like an escort for them to go buy RMC. Is that not creating a game loop for other people in itself?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but not everyone wants to do that though. Like I always made the joke that a 1.8 million profit margin is not enough to hire escorts,
Mm,
because I mean that's a lot of the carriers think that, oh, it's too expensive to hire an escort for every run, but you're profiting 1.8 mil per run doing this RMC road.
Exactly. Like if I right now, like I got a little bit of money on here. If I wanted to go run and make 2 million on a run, it would be so much more fun to hire a couple people to fly a couple guard ships with me, and I pay them 500K each just for fucking 12
So,
minutes.
so this is where you start breaking into what DT was talking about, which is there are people out there that have anxieties that don't reach out that easy, right? But and for those people, they're going to have to find a way to make it work for them, right? That this comes into that conversation piece that I have where I was joking about people not flying C2s in 3.24, right? The game is being steered in a way where multi crew ships are going to require you to have either friends to crew them with or a group to do a group that you play with, right? That, whether that be an official organization or not, that you will get into and you will crew that ship with. Otherwise, these people who want to do things by themselves, they're going to start having to knock it down a peg or two. A Taurus might be the biggest ship that they can fly. That while it could take a crew, doesn't need one for them to be successful at cargo trading, right?
Right.
But where this is where the part where I respect the fact that people have issues like anxieties and whatnot. I've got them myself. Right? It took me a very long time to be a more outspoken person when I joined Mongrel Squad, right? And like, believe it or not, I wasn't always the chatty Cathy that I am now.
That's
And
a damn lie. You've never shut up
it's
since I met you.
it's the truth. It's 100% the truth. Um,
No,
That's cool, dude.
but like, but like you come, so I understand where these people come from, right? I understand the anxieties of people who don't know how to or want to interact with people because of that, right? But
Right.
if that's going to be the case, you cannot just continue to get away with flying a big ship and doing whatever you want. These people aren't going to be able to hire escorts. They're they
What up?
just won't have the money to do it, right? And they'll have to roll with those consequences. But those consequences they have to acknowledge exist. They can't just ignore them, right? Because if it's not us, it will eventually at some point be NPCs.
well, if you I mean, depending on who you ask, we are NPCs.
But I break it.
I get what you're saying. Like, I feel like the game should definitely be pushing people to interact and work with other players to accomplish goals.
And it is that that's the key. Is it is pushing people to that point.
Like,
But
whether
it's
you're antisocial or not, like, you can still work for somebody. Like,
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is like You don't even need to talk to anyone. You can just
You
use
can just
text chat.
type. Yeah, you can just type.
And
Like,
if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that. But
before I joined you guys, that's how I like made my first 200K on this game.
I'm gonna bet login server hop. This one seems to be. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you guys off, but I wanted to announce that so you weren't just waiting
So
around.
go to menus.
Yeah. But I get where you're coming. I get where you're coming from, and I understand it, right? I had friends to help me get used to playing this game. When
I don't think you do. I don't think you do, and this is why I don't think you do. You're talking about whether or not it's healthy, which changed. What you initially said was whether or not piracy is a good thing for the game, and I would still tell you that piracy, like everything, is there's no yes or no. It's not a binary system. It's a spectrum. It's no different than if somebody says, is mining good for the game? Is trading good for the game? So people will argue player-driven economies are bad on games because if the players lose interest, the economy fails. And that's why you have a hybrid system in a lot of games. Same thing. If you talk about like PvP, people argue that PvP is bad for a game. I like PvP. You like PvP, so we would argue yes. But there are people out there that would argue PvE is the thing. In a multi-player online game, you're going to have PvP. You're also going to have areas where PvP is discouraged, and that's why I say that it's almost the one thing that's consistent in video gaming is there's a spectrum of people that are interested, and if you approach it from that, you get a broader player base and more people that are interested in playing the game.
Unfortunately, though, this game is not for a broad audience. It's for a very specific audience, and that's people who are open to participating in both PvE and PvP aspects willingly. And those who refuse to acknowledge that are doomed to have a bad time.
Hold on.
Well, but that's the thing, right? Is like, if you just fucking hate interacting with players so fucking much, like there is shit for you to do. I've never ever seen anybody in the asteroid belt.
Okay.
I've never run into anyone in the asteroid belt. I've never run into anyone while fucking cutting jumps between OMs and diving to go mining around Illyria. There's cargo routes that you can do that are not that do not have insane profit margins, but you will never see anyone on those routes.
I guess the only question is the answer would change depending on whether or not you think Star Citizen should be a PvP and a PvE game, or if you think it should be one or the other. And it's not like yes, like but however somebody answers that is just going to be a reflective of what they want, which is fine.
Exactly.
But it's not like a yes or no answer.
So that's the thing. I'm happy for the game to have PvE elements, but you have the people who want to interact with that only have to acknowledge they have to. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. They have to acknowledge that they are either only accessing a portion of the game, or they're going to have to deal with interacting with other players at some point in time.
And like,
I see your point there. I see your point there because that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Genocide.
Because some people want the Starfield experience with Star Citizen gameplay.
Yeah.
And like, I understand that, but it is an MMO.
I feel like if the game actually ever successfully is able to make more people be connected to one server at one time, we both could coexist. People that want to just mine rocks or do whatever and do quests versus people that want to do PvP or FPS type interactions or ship to ship battles. Like
we
it could
coexist now.
Yeah, I was gonna
exactly.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's where it comes down to the whole numbers thing that I brought up earlier, right? I think the number always changes, like the size of somebody's fish when they're telling a fish story, right? But
I feel attacked. Listen,
but pirates make up somewhere between like 5 and 10% of the total community.
Is that true,
Star
or are you
Citizen.
just pulling that statistic out from the place of all statistics, where 97.5% of statistics are made up on the spot?
That is a number that I have firmly been told that came from somebody else. So I'm just
Gotcha. No receipt. Okay.
Yep. 97.5% accuracy.
Oh, by the way,
I have. So I'm totally willing to say that I have no foundational basis for this. But
That's fine.
This is what this
Just
is.
asking.
This is this is the number that I've been told, so this is kind of what I'm going with, right?
Yeah,
It
I'm
could
with
be
you.
more, it could be less. It doesn't matter, right? We still make up the smallest percentage, right? That's not a fact in dispute, right? Pirates make up the smallest percentage of the populace of Star Citizen. Even with server meshing, the chances of us interacting with more people more frequently, including hardcore only PvE players, is still very, very slim, right? It's server meshing. All server meshing is going to do is open the possibility for more connections. Doesn't necessarily guarantee it.
I couldn't disagree with
Are we on
that.
a new
part of
server?
it.
Not yet. I'm about to menu now. I had to land.
I kind
Um,
of disagree with that part of it. I think that there's always going to be a bunch of people doing the most profitable cargo routes or fucking most profitable areas, and that's where the pirates are going to be. That's where
Sure.
we're into a lot of PvP and a lot of PvE.
That's where
players.
we're going to be, right? But
Exactly.
again, to my point, though, right? Those people who, the people who only focus on those things, that's, and if they're a diehard PVE only person, that's on them. But we do that now, and we barely run into people. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a Spectrum post or been told by somebody that we've pirated. Like, wow, I've never been pirated before. This is my first time, and I've been doing this for years.
Right,
Right?
but that was about a year and a half ago. Ever since Soft Death, that has not occurred as much, and there are many more piracy orgs now than there used to be, and
Yes.
many more individuals participating in piracy than there used to be. Just because it's so easy, like the skill floor on
But-
piracy tanked when they introduced Soft Death. Honestly,
But-
I used to be really excited about Soft Death.